everyone, welcome to the Cup of Cheer Advent Quilt Embroider-along with Material Girls. This is Amy and I'm so excited to have you here for another week. This week we are going to be working on the zipper pouch. This zipper pouch is a little bonus project designed to hold all of your Advent pieces and completely optional. And we're going to assemble the quilt top this week. We're going to start with the zipper pouch. So the zipper pouch is going to fit inside of your large oval or 5x7 hoop field. We're going to use a sticky back tearaway in the hoop so that our pouch is held in place. And the instructions are found on the CD inside of the folder labeled Advent Zipper Pouch. So let's go ahead and set up our design. So inside that folder, you're going to find two files. Now we're going to go ahead and open up the centering crosshairs. This is going to help us get our zipper pouch in place. And then we're going to add the Cup of Cheer design to it, okay? So this is exactly how it's going to look. And we're going to do a little bit of prep to our bag blank before we get started. This is the zipper blank. Now there is a large variety available. Well, by large, I mean there are 4 total colors. You could easily make your own zipper pouch if you want. I'm using the Blush Large Zipper Pouch Blank. What's great about these from Kimberbell is that they are already has the zipper installed and is not sewn down the sides so that I can do my embroidery and then sew it up. You're going to take your zipper blank, we're going to lay it on a flat surface right side down. We want to make sure the zipper is closed and the zipper pull is at the top. So here's my zipper pull. I'm going to fold the front lining of the zipper pouch to the left. Fold it over and we can put some pins in it to hold it in place and out of our way. We do not want to embroider through the lining. We're going to apply a piece of fusible woven lining to the wrong side of the pouch front. So I've gone ahead and I've ironed in that lining. And then we are going to find the center of that front pouch. Okay. So in the instructions, she tells you to mark the horizontal zipper, mark the horizontal center. This pouch is 10 inches in length, so I measured 5 inches up from one edge, and I drew a line. In the instructions, she has you turn it right side up and fold right sides together to get this center. I will tell you that in the large pouch, from the bottom to where the zipper is at is about 7 inches. So I would draw a line 3.5 inches up from the bottom to find our center. There is what it will look like. And we're doing this all on the wrong side of the zipper pouch. Now we have loaded our hoop with sticky tearaway. And if you're familiar with sticky tearaway, you know that we are going to place it in the hoop. We're going to score around and peel off to expose the sticky. And then we're going to embroider the crosshairs. That's the first portion of the design that we added to the hoop. And those crosshairs are going to stitch us a crosshair. Okay. This is going to be what we use to line up this portion of the project. Okay. So I'm actually going to take the hoop off the machine and we're going to line up our centers. I have my crosshairs. I'm going to go ahead and just line it up also with the crosshairs on my grippy grid, because with that, what I can do is I can also use the markings on the grid that can be seen through the stabilizer and line up the marked lines that I have, okay, with the marked lines. Now, if you turn your hoop over, you can see on the underside, you can see through the paper, depending on how brightly you marked your sticky. And it's gonna take me a minute. There we go. Now, I'm not using sticky because I'm in the studio and I'm all out of sticky down here. And I am not going to walk down the sidewalk at the moment. So, because it is dark 30 here in recording this. So I'm just using a little 505 spray. It's not the best option to hold this down, but I'm going to make it work. My marked line should line up with my stitched crosshair here in the hoop. Okay. We are then going to place the hoop on the machine and we're going to run the design. Make sure that when you put this on the machine, we want to make sure that the other side of the bag is not caught under the hoop and is out of our way. Now, this bag does have some sort of texture to it. We're not going to place any sort of topper on it. The embroidery design that we have is fairly filled in. There's not a lot of small detail to it. So I don't feel that it is absolutely necessary that we put a wash away topping on top of here. So I'm going to go ahead and load the design or load the thread with whatever I want to stitch the first color stop of the design, which is cup of and then advent quilt. Those particular words, I'm going to use navy blue. We're going to embroider through all of the color stops of this design. There are 8 of them, and then we will remove the project from the hoop. At that point, you can break down your embroidery machine and convert it over to sewing, or if you have a separate sewing machine, we will get that ready for use. Now, when your design is finished, we can go ahead and take the hoop off the machine. We are going to remove the item from the hoop. Now, if you're using the sticky tearaway, you want to carefully cut the excess stabilizer away from the back. Don't just rip your project off. So we want to take a pair of scissors and roughly cut the stabilizer away from the back of the bag. Go ahead and get your area ready to assemble the zipper pouch and start assembling our quilt. We're going to go ahead and set up our sewing machines for 1/4 inch piecing. I will start with a neutral color thread for assembling this pouch. All of the stitching will be on the inside. And then I'll go to a white for when I begin assembling my quilt. So I'll be right back as soon as my area is all set up and ready to go. My sewing area is all ready and set up. I'm going to take my zipper pouch. I'm going to unzip my zipper part of the way. Okay, about halfway. I want to make sure it's not anywhere near the side seams. We're going to take the right sides together of the felt portion of the pouch and right sides together with the lining of the pouch. Going to take a few pins here, and we're going to pin all the way around this project. I'm going to start with the felt side. You will probably find that he may not be 100% the same size on both sides, both pieces of those felt. Like you can see, it's not real straight right here. It's okay. I'm going to leave it, and I will just follow my seam along the shorter edge of the pouch. Now, on the lining, we're going to leave about a 3-inch opening in the bottom of the lining. So I'm going to be sewing all the way around this bag, but I'm not going to sew between that 3-inch opening. So this area between the 2 unicorns on my lining end, I am not going to sew between. Now let's talk about what we're going to do with the zippers. Okay. You want to make sure that the teeth are facing the back and the front of the zipper pouch. Okay. So when this is the back and the front, so we're going to flip the zipper tape so it goes towards, get my head out of the way. Okay. With the zippers, we're going to make sure that the teeth of the zipper go towards the front and back felt portion of the pouch. So I'm going to flip, make sure that that seam allowance or the seam is going towards the felt portion. She tells you to stack up your zippers and pin them in place. Let's see if I have here. I'm just going to take a pin from here for a moment. Okay. It's a little harder on the end that is still together or still zipped together down here. Just push the seams, the zipper teeth towards the felt portion of the bag. Okay. And you'll feel that when you get to the sewing portion of this. Okay. we are going to use a 1/4-inch seam allowance. We're going to sew all the way around, leaving that 3-inch opening here in between the 2 pins. And we're going to remove pins as we sew around. Okay. I'm going to make sure that I backstitch everywhere. And I think I'm going to sew on with this side up because this is that short edge. This way I can see what's going on. Now that I'm at my sewing machine, I'm going to sew that 1/4 inch all the way around. It doesn't matter if you sew where you can see the embroidery or the embroidery is right side down. I'm going to be sewing with it up because this is that short edge. That way I can see the edge of where I need to follow. Ultimately, as long as you catch everything. Now, as I approach the zipper, I'm going to make sure I don't have a pin anywhere. I can see that both of my zipper teeth are pointing towards the front and back of the felt side of my bag. This is that short edge, so I'm just going to follow the edge of the shorter side. Approaching another zipper, so I just want to make sure that those zipper teeth in the area that I'm going to be sewing over are pointed towards the front and back of my bag. Coming back to that unicorn pin, which means I'm just going to backstitch and I'm going to leave this unsewn. Before we do any cutting, we're going to come on over here. I always like to kind of look in through the hole here, make sure everything looks good. We are going to, you can trim your corners. So like I'm going to trim this corner right here because one, it doesn't match and that's too much bulk to be putting into that corner. So I am going to trim that. I'm going to cut off the excess zipper tape, being very careful not to cut into my stitching while I grade my corners. So grading your corner is starting in the corner and cutting close to the edge and cutting at an angle out. You can kind of see, kind of narrows in at the corner. It's going to help when we turn this right side out to allow the excess bulk into that corner. I'm going to trim the zipper here. And now we're going to turn this whole bag right side out through the hole in the lining and the open zipper in the top. I'm turned right side out. I'm just going to take and stick my finger down into each corner and kind of press each corner out. It's helpful if you put your thumb in the corner, kind of hold on to it with your finger inside the bag and then flip outwards. So you're just kind of, and that will help turn a nice corner. So thumb in the corner, finger on the inside, and then push. We'll go to the iron. We will kind of fold that in, tuck that in. You can machine so that you can iron it shut with fusible tape. Completely your choice. And then we will tuck it to the inside. There is our Cup of Cheer Advent quilt bag. We're going to go over to the ironing board and we're going to talk about what is going to go in here and the steps that we need to do to get everything ready to go in here. Okay, so inside this pouch, we are going to place all the pieces that get attached to the quilt. Okay, So the snowman, the candy cane, these little stockings, I went ahead and clipped the clothespins to them that we will use to attach them to the quilt. We have our bird, our bow, our ornaments. Oops, there should be a third ornament. There's the ornaments, our lace ornaments. And then we have our cup of coffee, or excuse me, our cup of hot cocoa. Now we have a few things that we need to do to prep these little guys. Oops, hold on. We can put our 3 wool felted marshmallows in there. Have our music box. We have a couple of things that we need to do. You're going to take a 24-inch piece of twine here, and we're going to wrap it around the Christmas tree. So I'll move that here in 1 second. Okay. So we're going to take a 24-inch piece. So I brought it up, had both loose ends up here, and then I wrapped them around, avoiding the Velcro on the back, and then tied that in a bow. This is what's going to go on top of the car. Okay. So it was a 24-inch piece of twine that's in your kit. Wrap it around your tree, and then he's ready to go in here. Our heart. In your kit, you have these clips. Okay. So the bigger, thicker clips are going to go on the back of the heart. The smaller, thinner bar pieces of this clip are going to go on our quilt. So right now we just want to attach these pieces. Now I used a hand sewing needle. I did pull out some embroidery floss or pearl cotton and stitch this with. It would be fine with regular cotton thread or even polyester thread. I just wanted something a little thicker, maybe a little more secure. Over time, if you do use cotton or polyester thread, I would probably make sure that you wrap multiple times in each hole, making sure that you don't go through the front of your heart. Okay. Once those 2 clasps are attached, they can go away. We have our holly leaf. You have a large red button in your kit that you can stitch right there to make our holly leaf. Have his red berry, and then he goes in your bag. And then we have 3 jingle bells. You're going to cut 3 12-inch pieces of twine. You're going to attach a jingle bell to the bottom of each piece of twine. So I actually triple knotted it so that I made sure that it was going to stay attached. Then I took all 3 pieces, I lined them up and kind of adjusted their lengths so they don't hang at the same length. And then I tied all 3 in a bow. In a knot. This is going to wrap around a spot on the quilt once we get our quilt assembled. Okay? And then he can go in your bag. Just like that. And we have all our pieces. The remaining buttons and the remaining items that we have the holly leaves, the package tags, and the wreath leaves. I'm just going to leave here for the moment until we get our quilt top assembled. And I'll get this little guy here sewn on. So let's come on back over to the machine here, and we'll talk about assembly. Our next project is starting to assemble the quilt top. Okay. She's broken it down into 7 sections that then get sewn together into 2 columns, and then the quilt gets sewn together down the middle. Hopefully you have taken the time and have all your pieces sorted to match each section. So on page 63, we have our pieces ready to go. Okay. So if we look at page 63, we're going to be using 1/4 inch seam allowances. We're going to press our seams as we go, and I have been pressing my seams open. We need to pay attention to the direction of the quilting designs on blocks that have directional quilting. I don't want your trees or anything upside down, your stockings. And then once we get the top assembled, we're going to go ahead and measure the width and the length and take note of those measurements so that we're ready for borders next week. This is section 1. Okay. We are going to lay it out just like she shows in there. And there is a particular order that things go into. So I have this little guy here. He's going to go, and he is going to go here. So see how I have these trees that are upside down. So I need to make sure I turn them right side up. Now, that is going to be different in terms of the location of these fabrics than what was in the picture. It's okay. Just happened to be the way that I laid that block down when I went to quilt it. It's not absolutely necessary that it lay in the same particular order that was there. Okay. There's that. We have our coffee cup here. Let's move that up a little. And our tree. So again, another directional piece, making sure it goes the right direction. And then we'll move this up here. I have this little guy. And I used a different fabric than the one that's shown in the picture, which is just fine. Right way, right way. Actually, I'm going to flip him because he's got a little snowman right there. Yeah, okay. So this is just section 1 here. And we are going to, so you can kind of see, we need to sew things together into units that will then go together. It's like, kind of like a jigsaw puzzle, okay? We are going to basically sew these 2 units together, these 2 together. We'll sew these 2 together, these 2 together, and these 2 together. Okay, not sewing anything to this guy quite yet. All right, again, 1/4 inch seam, and then after I get all of these sewn together, we're going to go over to the ironing board and we're going to press those seams. I am just using neutral thread, top and bottom, for this project, or this step of the project. That these are all sewn together, we're going to head over to the ironing board. Now, I did find that a clapper was very helpful for this. So I've got my wood clapper here. Let's get all of this out of the way. I'm going to lay my block wrong side up. I'm going to find my open seam here. I have a steam iron that I'm using. I'm just dragging this along, opening up the seam. Once I've heated my seam up, I'm going to remove my iron, and I'm going to set my clapper down. Okay. That clapper is going to allow the fabric to cool and to allow the seam allowances to stay open and not want to pop back up for me. Okay. So we give that a few minutes, and then that will be nice and pressed open. You can press it from the front if you like. I'm not going to press anything from the front. Again, if you have a hard time getting finding that opening. This is the OESD point and press that you can use to run down the middle of the open of the seam to get that started. Now, with all those seams pressed, we're going to go back over, we're going to relay out the block and choose the next seams that need to be sewn together. So it looks, I'm going to sew these two together, and I'm going to sew these two together, and then we will join them to their bigger units and then sew to the middle. Now, once you have section 1 done, you're going to repeat this process all the way through section 7. And as you finish those sections, you can then join them to the section that they join to. So this, for example, is section 1. We have section 2, section 3, and section 4. So I've already joined these together, and I'm just going to take this section now and join it right sides together to this one and press the seam open. Now, once 1, 2, 3, 4 is sewn together, you're going to repeat the process for 5, 6, and 7. These are a little bit bigger sections in terms of being wider. And then I'm going to take and put this together, and I'm going to sew one long seam down the middle. Okay, right sides together. Now we do have some seams that need to be matched, or some sections that need to be matched, so that things, you know, kind of line up, specifically like the cheer, because remember that this is going to come to finish this, so I want to make sure that my block lines up where it belongs. And once we're ready, we're going to head over to the machine and sew that 1/4 inch. Back to the ironing board to finish ironing that last seam. Now, once that last seam is pressed, your quilt top is assembled. Well, the center of your quilt top is assembled. There is our quilt. And all I want you to do is to measure how wide the quilt is and how long the quilt is. And make note of those measurements. We're going to need those measurements for when we do borders next week. If you are not quilting in the hoop with this machine and you are comfortable attaching borders, you could go ahead and attach your borders. We have an inner and an outer border to this quilt. And for those of you that are quilting in the hoop, next week we will cover how to do continuous quilting using the Kimberbell method and then attaching them to the quilt in the same manner. And I do have a checklist for you, just like always. So again, your homework is to get your zipper pouch made, finish your sewing together your 7 sections and attaching them together into your quilt top, making note of your width and length. And then if you would like, you can continue with finishing up your embellishments and putting them, going ahead and packing them in the bag. One other thing that I want to show you is that with Kimberbell on your USB stick, it prints 2 to a page. I would print them and put them front to back. You could laminate it, put it with the quilt, and go ahead and put this inside the zipper pouch. This is to help remind you as to what could be done on each day and things like that, or what was meant to be done on each day for our project. And then that way, if you give this as a gift, that people will know what to do and when to do it. And then one other thing that we have are those few embellishments, like I said, that go on once the quilt top is quilted. Now I'm going to wait to do this until after my borders are on and I'm done messing with this. But if you wanted to start doing it, you could. You have these package tags. These get hand tacked to the gift boxes. And if you look at the picture in the quilt, you will know which one goes where. You have 3 of them. The other 2 are down here. That will get just a hand tack. You could, if you wanted, use your button sew on program for the machine and tack them directly through the top anywhere you would like on your gift box. These little leaves here, these are the holly leaves that get attached in the deck the halls location, and then there are 2 buttons that go over top of them. Okay, so they'll get a button. Okay, there. The little tiny buttons that are in your package get attached to the tree or tree branches. These are where your ornaments get hung for that particular project. And then we have those flat brackets. Second, let me grab a hold of everything here. The flat brackets are going to get attached to your quilt on the last block. The location in which you stitch them is really your choice. Let me pull that up so you can see a picture. And you know what? I've got a block backwards. These are right in the right place. as I just noticed. So Amy's going to be ripping out some blocks. So these should be snowflake here, embroidered snowflake here, printed snowflake here. This little guy is going to hold that heart. And so what you want to do is figure out how you want the heart to lay on the quilt. And then I would mark, just fold up the bottom as I just knock everything off the table. Just kind of fold this up and mark where that clasp is, and then you can stitch those brackets there, and then this will hang over those brackets. Okay. The last thing that we have to attach to the quilt is the, let me find them. Wreath leaves that are on a page in here somewhere. Page 67, okay? And then that are these little tiny leaves that were stitched in the felt. They get tacked onto your wreath, okay? Let's see, it says hand tack. See a larger image on page 31. So you can come back to page 31. And you can kind of see where they're at. A lot of them are right at the intersections. We've got a piece of Velcro that will get attached here for the bow. And then it looks like a lot of them are right at the intersections so that we can hide anything that doesn't 100% match. And then, let's see, under the bow, going to sew a 1 3/4 inch hook smooth side hook and loop centered at the top of the wreath block, and you'll have 1 3/4 inch smooth side hook and loop tape that you're going to attach to the top of your car. Okay, so you're going to get 1, okay, of your smooth hook and loops is going to go here. And then the other hook and loop is going to go here. I would take your tree. I would kind of put your tree where you kind of want it to land, mark that, and then you know exactly where to put your hook and loop. Okay. And then you can go ahead and do that if you would like. Doesn't have to wait until the borders are on. You may want to go ahead and take the time now to do it, and that way next week being Thanksgiving with borders and everything, that will be all finished before we get to the last step at the last week of this month. All right. I will see you back here next Wednesday on Thanksgiving Eve morning. So showing you how to work through the border stitching, which is just a lot of repetitive stitching. It is not difficult at all. Great thing to do after Thanksgiving dinner or Black Friday, just to sit in your room and stitch away. Happy stitching, everyone, and I'll see you right here next week.